Hello there. In this video I'm going to show you how you can use the Blender application template, FluidDesigner for 3D printing, to quickly and easily create, in this case I'm going to show you how to create some jewelry items, but this method can be used for creating a wide range of things. Important thing to understand about the library of objects that we've created is that they are what we refer to as parametric smart objects, and you can simply join parametric smart objects together to create finished products. Now these parametric smart objects are in fact just curves in Blender. So if we go to Blender itself, I'm going to actually show you more or less how to create one of these pendants here. So what we do is install FluidDesigner for 3D printing in Blender 2.79 onwards. And what you find is there are some object libraries which we've created, and I'm going to create a pendant in this case, but instead of actually using one of the objects in the pendants folder, I'm actually going to use a heart pattern as the outline for the pendant. So if I go to the heart library, I'm going to use this object here. And in order to place it in the center of the screen, if you just scroll and zoom back, you can position it exactly in the middle of the screen there. Now, if I just open up the properties panel, this object is a curve and it's got a cross section of 1 millimeter by 2 millimeters. And so if I just remove the bevel object, you can see the basic curve there. And if I just put the bevel object back in, you can see it's 1 by 2. Now most of the objects we've created are this default size. There are, however, some objects that have got a dimension of 1 millimeter diameter. In other words, they're rounded cross sections, but most are this size. So if I go to view and top view, excuse me, and I'm now going to place a couple of parametric smart objects in the center of this pendant. And so I go to object library. First of all, I'm going to put a Harrington font. So if we go to the font library, I'm going to choose letter C, and I'm just going to position it there for the moment. And again, as I say, the cross section of this is 1 by 2. It's exactly the same as the heart section on the outside, but it's a bit too big. So if I just go into edit mode and just scale it down, it can fit there. But notice that the cross section, the Z dimension, has not changed, provided you scale it in edit mode. You must be in edit mode. So I'm now going to place another smart object in here to create my pendant. And this time, if I go to the libraries, I'm going to use the astrological pattern. And doesn't really matter which one I use, but I'm going to use the Zodiac Leo one. So if we click OK, and again you can see it's too big. So go into edit mode and just scale it down to the size you want. And I'll just switch off the snap and just use G to grab it. And so that's, it's then a case of playing around with these until you're happy with the actual finished design. Now if you have got Jewelcraft on your system, you could in fact add a heart diamond or emerald to your system as well, and you can in fact combine meshes with these curves. I'm not actually going to do that. I'm just going to leave it as it is here. Now if I hold down the shift key and select all of those objects and go to tools, object, tools and join, we've now just got one object and the cross section of them is 1 by 2. You do need to be a little bit careful when you join these objects sometimes. If you look at the Leo symbol there, there is a gap at the end there, and what you need to do is to fill the caps. Sometimes you need to fill the caps, sometimes you need to close the curve. It just depends on what the objects are. But you just do need to watch out for that. Now, the final thing that I actually need to do here is to put a ring at the top. So if we go back to our object library, if we go to jewelry findings, we can see some rings here, and I'm going to use this 2.5 millimeter internal diameter ring, and I'm just going to position it there. Now this is one object which hasn't actually got a cross-section diameter of 1 by 2. It's got a cross-section diameter of 1 millimeter. In other words, it's circular. But if you hold down the shift key and join it to the rest of the pendant, it will take on the same dimensions, the same cross-section as the pendant. And if you like, you could actually change the whole pendant to a cross-section diameter of 1. That's rounded. Now they tend not to print too well on an FDM printer. 1 by 2 or 1 by 1 will print really well on FDM printers. Now if you want to change the cross-section diameter, you could always go to the object library, and the very first thing there are bevel objects. So 3D templates, bevel objects. Now there are certain bevel objects which are particularly for bracelets and particularly for rings. So I'm going to use this one here, and I'm just going to put it there so you can actually still see it. And that basic object is 1 millimeter by 1 millimeter. So in other words, if I click on my pendant and if I change the bevel object to this one now, away from the default ones to this object, you'll see it takes on the dimensions of 1 by 1. So you can see it's 1 millimeter thick. If I click on the object itself, you can see I can change the Y dimension here, and I can also change the X. Now changing the X is not great, but if you wanted to actually create an earring instead of a pendant, if you change that to 0.8 millimeters and change Y to 1 millimeters, it's much thinner than before and probably light enough to print and use as an earring. So that's how you can change your pendant into an earring. Just create a unique bevel object, or cross-section as we prefer to actually call it. Now the only thing you have to do now is export it as an OBJ or as an STL file. I tend to use OBJ. And you must always run these objects through Netfab Basic, which you can find and download free from our website as well. Now if you're interested in seeing the range of different objects that we've created over the last couple of years using this application, if you go to our website Personalized Presence 3D, personalizedpresence3d.co.uk, and you look in our shop, I mean I've just shown you some jewellery items. We have created curve artwork, caricatures, animals and Voronoi sculptures as well, using Blender essentially, but we've always been doing it using this FluidDesigner app. And also if you go to our Shapeways shop, so you go to shapeways.com/shops FluidDesigner, you can see a wide range of objects that we've created there, and you can click on the different categories and see the sorts of things that we've created using this app, running it in Blender. If you actually want to download the application itself, the application template, if you go to our website at fluiddesigner.co.uk and just go to the download page, you'll be able to download the basic application for free, because as you're aware it's based on Blender. What you won't find is that you won't find all of the libraries. There are some there, but not quite all of them, and it is possible to buy some of the libraries from us. So I hope you found this video useful, and I hope you found the application itself useful. Thank you for watching.